Welcome to the Power Rack Podcast, Episode 6. I'm your host, Todd Becraft. I want to thank everybody for joining, and those who will be watching later, thank you for taking the time to do so. I want you to like and subscribe to the channel if you would. That would really mean a lot. You can check out past episodes on my website, trapauthority.com. Today, we're going to be covering a different subject other than powerlifting, and that's why I want to address the name of the show real quick, because I've had some people say, well, isn't it just a powerlifting-based show? The name Power Rack, I called it that because it's number one, it's a weightlifting-related show, weightlifting-based, always will be, but I want it to be versatile, and to me, the Power Rack, besides being one of my favorite pieces of equipment in the gym, is one that kind of is the most versatile piece of equipment in the gym. And that's what I want this show to be about, is very versatile. And it's going to cover all kinds of things, and certainly not just powerlifting, even though it seems like it, because all 5 episodes before this one have really been powerlifting based. So that being said, today we're going to talk more about health, longevity, and healthy eating mainly. We don't just want lifespan, we want health span. And because of drugs and medical technology, we have increased life expectancy these days, but we are not living longer, we are just dying longer. We are getting sick sooner, but because of medical technology, we are taking longer to die. So I thought it was a real important thing to discuss, is healthy eating. And this is coming from me, who is a heart attack survivor. So having had quintuple bypass surgery, and some people say, well, when you talk about yourself, you're a former powerlifter, former pro wrestler, and you always add in you're a heart attack survivor. Is that how you want to be identified? And actually it is, because I want it out there so people will ask me questions and stuff like that about it, so that I can hopefully help people and talk about the way I've kind of changed my lifestyle and to try to live hopefully a long, healthy life from here at this point on. The people I'm going to bring in today, I'm really, truly honored to have as guests. It's going to be a nice variety of people. And I do want to state that none of us are medical professionals whatsoever. We are just athletes that have tried various things and found what works for us personally. So, and we're just going to be talking about that today, is things that worked for us personally. So if you want to try any of these things, check with your doctor first if you have health issues. That being said, I'm going to start bringing my guests in today. Susan Becraft, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Let me start off by attempting to go through your resume, which is quite an extensive one here. Susan is a NASM certified personal trainer and corrective exercise specialist. Growing up as a competitive athlete in track and field and gymnastics, she incorporated her experiences from both sports into creating her own style of exercise. Her unique style of training was first noticed by Nike when she was selected as a finalist in their drill contest for the 2012 Nike Training Club app, where her drill was later featured. Later that year, she was named one of YouTube's next trainers after a worldwide search. She then went on to be one of the lead female trainers for Jeff Cavaliere of Athlean-X and his channel, Athlean-X for Women. And I do want to stop there real quick and just say that for those that don't know, the Athlean-X for Women channel has over 500,000 subscribers, which is huge. And Jeff Cavaliere with Athlean-X has 11.4 million subscribers to his YouTube channel. The guy is just amazing. And if you're into fitness at all, you must check out this guy's channel. And one of the people, before I finish more of your bio, Susan, one of the people that I personally look up to, probably one of the most people I look up to, is Sylvester Stallone, for his longevity, his physical fitness regimen, and how he looks at the age right now of 74. Sylvester Stallone was quoted as saying that Jeff Cavaliere is probably the guy who knows more about fitness than anybody. Jeff is an amazing trainer with an extraordinary amount of knowledge, and I do his workouts. So Sylvester Stallone does this guy's workouts. That's how awesome this guy is. And Susan worked for this guy and was part of his channels. So anyway, back to her bio. She is filmed for the BFit channel and featured in their workout series BFit in 30 Extreme Workout and Lionsgate Productions in Los Angeles, which I know that because I used to work in the video distribution industry, and Lionsgate was huge. She has filmed workouts for fitness magazines as well. Susan has been featured in such magazines as the Wall Street Journal, Forbes.com, and FitnessMagazine.com, and many other publications. That's an amazing resume, Susan, and I'm truly honored to have you and your perspective of things on this show today.
Thank you.
Now I'm going to bring in our next guest before we get to talking to you. Natty, how are you?
Good. How's it going?
Good. You're my very first guest on episode 1, so the audience knows a lot about you already. But for those that don't know, you're 103 and 114 pound. Those are 2 different weight classes, folks. Powerlifting national and world record holder. You are also, on a side note, K9 program coordinator at the Delaware County Humane Society, which is cool because we all love our animals. So gotta like that. How are you doing today?
Doing good.
Good. I'm going to bring in one more guest. And this guest is my sister, Kim Becraft. Kim is customer development manager for the natural food industry. Clients include Whole Foods, New Seasons, and New Leaf Community Market, which I believe is in your area, Susan, if that rings a bell to you.
We were just there yesterday in Santa Cruz.
Wow. Yes. We don't have that here as far as I know. And then there's me, and I already kind of talked about myself, and I don't want to do that anymore. So let's all say hi to each other and get rolling on some subjects here. I have my notes. I'm not afraid to admit that I did have to make notes. I guess we're putting it out there. Yeah, exactly. I want to get right into the way we eat, plant-based diets. I know that Natty is a powerlifter. You know, powerlifters are kind of known for not eating so healthy, especially the men and the heavyweight divisions. But yet you're one that eats very healthy and is very strong. So it's going to be neat getting these different perspectives. First thing, let's talk about plant-based diets in general. Susan, what's your experience? I think you have the longest experience probably of all of us with that type of diet. What made you go that direction?
Well, first, I just want to say Todd and Kim are my cousins. So if people are wondering why we all have the last name.
Oh, thank you.
They're actually my cousins. So back on topic, plant-based. Yeah. So I've been plant-based for about 3 years now. I would say probably about 2 years before I became plant-based, I just noticed I wasn't feeling as well after I would eat meat. I mean, I thought I was eating a really healthy diet. I was eating the typical chicken and, pork chops or, red meat here and there pretty much every day. Starting at breakfast, I would have, turkey and my, turkey sausage or whatever in my breakfast. And I just kind of felt like I always was like a little bloated. I could never get super lean. I felt lethargic. I was having allergies. And then just cooking meat, I just started feeling uncomfortable cooking it after a while. Like it was like, something's not feeling right here. So I don't know. I just progressively started eating less. And then after a doctor's visit, and he was saying, your cholesterol is like 252. And I'm sitting there thinking, but man, I'm eating a really healthy diet. I mean, what's going on here? I work out in the gym. I have a great fitness routine. So I was really kind of perplexed at what was going on. So I literally made the decision like one day, and I just came home. I cleaned out the refrigerator. I told my husband, get on board or eat out, because I'm literally just going to go plant-based from here on out. I don't feel good when I eat this way. What's interesting is I had just had my, what was it, that 23andMe done, and I did the health section of it, and it came back saying that my body type actually will do better with a plant-based diet, and the more animal products I eat, the more I'm going to have trouble controlling my weight. And so I thought, okay, that's the last of the message that I need to start eating plant-based.
Wow,
So,
who would have figured you would have had trouble with your weight? I remember as kids, you were obviously the gymnastic background. And I was frustrated because, I just kind of started lifting weights a little bit because I was so skinny and so small. And here's my cousin Susan with more muscle than I had, but yet always really lean and in shape, And so,
yeah,
Susan, if you don't
I
mind
wouldn't say I was heavy, but I just felt like
No.
the amount of working out that I did, and I did carry a lot of muscle mass at certain points in my life, but I just never felt like super lean or just, I just kind of felt a little lethargic and something was not right. I could just tell something with the body chemistry and whatever I was eating and the cholesterol. When he was telling me, well, possibly statins, I was like, oh no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm on one. Yeah, it's
okay.
unfortunate. Susan, what was your body? I mean, hey, we're going to be open here. So, what was your body weight at the time you thought you were too heavy?
Well, I wouldn't say I was too heavy. I just felt like I'm working out hard enough to where my results should be better than this. So I think I was maybe about 135,
and
which isn't heavy for me because I was carrying a lot of muscle at the time. But I just kind of felt like, why can't I get rid of this kind of watery, a little bit of like bloated look, not a lot. Most people were like, how do your abs so ripped? And I'm like, really? Because I don't feel that way. So it was really interesting. Within easily a month or two of the plant-based diet, I felt like all the inflammation went away, my allergies went away. I mean, it was pretty amazing.
And
for at
what's
least
your height?
for my body chemistry. It did not like the butter, the milk, the cheese. It didn't like any of it.
How tall are you, Susan?
I'm about 5'7".
Okay, yeah, I just want to show this picture. What'd you weigh here? Because obviously you got vascularity going.
So that's a normal weight for me. I would say I was about 135, and I look lean, but to me, I still kind of felt a little. People are going to be like, shut up.
I know.
but to me, I could see kind of some water weight and just the allergies. I had horrible allergies. I would miss so many days out of the gym because my allergies were so bad. I mean, I was I had chronic allergies, and come to find out it was because all the milk I was drinking. It was like, I need more protein, so I'm going to drink way more milk than I probably should be. And I was so congested some days, I literally couldn't even breathe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Last question. I'll move on to what do you label yourself? Are you labeled like as a vegan, a vegetarian? Do you not really like to have labels?
Well, I've heard the term flexitarian, which is occasionally adding, is occasionally adding in meat. So I would say maybe. Well, as of last October, I'm pretty much totally meat free again. But before that, I would say I was more flexitarian. I'd eat a little bit of chicken here or there. But now the only thing I've added in is a little bit of just eggs. And that's really about where I'm at. But everything else is plant-based.
This being so new to me, that's actually where the category I fall under too, because I've cut out red meat altogether, but I'm still doing, and the flexitarian, you can go 2 to 3 days a week with meat. And that's kind of what I'm doing, some ground chicken on my salads and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I'm like. Natty, let's talk about you a little bit. What are you labeled?
No, I don't know. It's kind of hard. I have it's a lot of different thoughts on things. I've done a lot, just I guess experimenting with myself to see what different fad diets, not that I think those are going to really work, but just to see. So I've done a lot of just like, well, we'll try this for a year and see how that goes. And so like really what I'm doing right now, I'll eat meat every day, but it's not nearly as much as I have in the past. I'll eat eggs a couple of times a week. I only really eat chicken and sometimes turkey. It's always from local farmers that I know. So it's just, I've had a hard time cutting it out completely and staying with the macros that I kind of feel comfortable with. I end up, if I go completely plant-based, I end up with a lot more carbs than my body really feels comfortable with. So maybe I haven't figured that out quite yet, or I don't know. But
well, that's actually a really good point, because it really does come down to a lot of experimentation. I'm finding out what works for you. Like Susan she looks fantastic, and I could follow her exact diet, but it might not be right for me. You know, it might cause some inflammation or digestive issues with me. So it is, you're about a lot of kind of, it's a long process. There's no doubt about it. I've showed a picture of Susan, so I'll throw one of Natty on here if I can find the one I want to show. I always like this one, the beach one of her too. Look at those abs. So so her diet works for her. Yeah. And Kim, talk a little bit. I know that you like to eat a lot of organic stuff. Is kind of your thing, correct?
Correct. Being in the natural food industry, I've been blessed to be able to try a ton of different products. Full disclosure, I recently have started weaning myself off red meat just for dietary reasons. And I can definitely start to tell that I feel better. I will splurge once every couple weeks because I think sometimes, and I've learned this from some vegetarians, if your body, and I know there's different formats I could be getting iron from, but they've told me if your body is absolutely craving something, do not deny it, because it's craving that for a reason. So maybe for me, it's just finding different things besides red meat when my body is going through that process. But the longer I do not eat it, the more I don't think about it, the more I feel like my body's not craving it. And again, because of the industry I work in, I've gotten to try so many wonderful products, but it's not necessarily something that a lot of them I haven't adapted into my lifestyle. Full disclosure, I do not like vegetables. I don't like cooked vegetables. I can eat raw vegetables all day long, but I don't like vegetables. They're just not my thing. So I can eat fruit, I can eat a lot of chicken. I can eat eggs. I'm very particular about my eggs though. Have to be free range, and that type of stuff. But yeah, super blessed. I'm glad I have my brother. He gets to try many things for me when I choose not to try them. I will always take a bite so I can, taste it. But just so my diet or my outtake is I love organic, but I kind of eat everything except for sweets. I have taken myself off any sweets.
I think her dislike for vegetables comes from us growing up and as kids. To get her to try to eat her peas, my dad would always say they taste like Hershey bars, and she tried it once and they didn't taste like Hershey bars, so she's hated vegetables ever since.
Oh my God.
I have.
Well,
I have.
I just have to say one thing. So a lot of people, the main thing when you do become plant-based is you have to take a B12 tablet, because you're not going to get B12 from any like plant-based items. It comes from like animal products. So that could be why after a while you start craving meat, because if you're going to become anemic, and it can actually hurt your nervous system if you're not taking your B12 every day. So that's a huge thing for people who do turn plant-based. You have to make sure you're taking a good amount of B12 every day, some B6 in there. Because you'll kind of hit a slump too. Like I remember the doctor saying, make sure you take it every day, because once you get in that slump, because your body, you kind of, lose that energy from your Bs. So yeah, that's a critical piece there.
That's actually a really good point, because there are a few different supplements a person needs to take if they are on it, almost on any given diet is going to lack some. If you're on a strict diet of any type, are going to lack certain nutrients. And but Kim, not eating your vegetables, a good thing you're a rep for Juice Plus.
Yes, I do take one of my supplements. I do take is Juice Plus, so I can get my vitamin, my vegetables in. So I have found something to increase, and I'm lactose intolerant, so I don't. Dairy's really not part of my diet. So same reason Susan said. Obviously, anyone who knows you're lactose intolerant, you're bloated, you're congested, you're
just my allergies. Whew. Not fun.
Well, the one thing about eating healthy and all that is sometimes it comes from having things in our past come back at us. Like for me, it was a heart attack, and I made a little note here that that says a cardiologist, as far as them learning about food, is an elective. It's an elective course that most of them don't take to learn about food, and yet heart health is made up of the food that goes to our blood and our arteries and all that. But yet the cardiologists really don't know much. Especially I found out about diet or anything. So it's really you have to do so much research on your own. And we'll talk about gut health here in a minute. But gastrologists, they have 15 years of schooling typically, and typically specialize in the treatment associated with digesting food. And in school, food is a 2-week course. So even people you would think are the experts, and those are very smart people to have gone through schooling and be able to do what they do. I mean, God bless my cardiologists. But once they fix you, so to speak, or repair you at that moment, it's really up to you and to talk to folks like yourselves and find what works for you and the diet you need to be on. And we'll talk about the importance of blood work here in a little bit, but I don't want to jump too far ahead. But as long as we're talking about plant-based foods and stuff like that, let's jump into like portion sizes, because a lot of people limit the times. They think I'm going to go on a diet, so they'll limit the times they eat per day. Like, well, I'm going to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, no snacks or anything like that. And the problem with that is they don't limit the amounts they eat. So they're gorging themselves with the big breakfast, knowing they're not going to get any food till lunch, or they're gorging themselves with a big dinner. And they'd be better off having more meals per day with smaller portions. Susan, what's your thoughts on portion sizes? Like when you sit down to eat.
Yeah, you just hit it right there. Actually, when I changed to being plant-based, I now eat 6 meals a day. So my first meal is at 7:30. I eat pretty much about every 2.5 hours. My last meal can be anywhere between 8:30 and 9:30. Okay. So that whole thing about don't eat past 6, it's like, well, I'm leaner than I've ever been, and I'm eating way more. I don't really totally watch my portions. I guess my plate is usually half some kind of huge salad that I make, whether it's asparagus or like spinach with, tomatoes and beans or whatever thrown on it, to like a summer salad with strawberries and blueberries and apples. And so I try to kind of change that up. Usually like some kind of veggie patty, and then I eat a ton of sweet potatoes with like walnuts on them, or whatever other vegetable I've made, broccolis, or I love the multicolored carrots. I just try to think of like the rainbow. You want to think about the rainbow when you're eating, all the different colors, just, I don't know. So yeah, I would say I eat about 6 times a day. And I don't really portion it out, because the plant-based foods, or if you're eating cleaner, you're going to your body's going to process that food a lot quicker. So you're going to become you're just going to be hungry all the time. Like when we first started this, I was like ravenous. I'm like, oh my God, I'm starving. But then you just kind of learn to add more in, because those vegetables are so clean. You're just digesting everything so fast.
especially when you're throwing exercise on top of that, because your body's wanting more and more nutrients.
Yeah.
It wants to get from the food. What's the last thing you eat at night? Like, what's typically your last meal?
My last meal, I drink a protein milk that's like cashew and like almond milk. I think it's like 10 grams per cup. So I'll drink I usually drink 3 cups of that a day. I do 2 to 3 egg whites with spinach, some tomatoes and avocado, and then some kind of potatoes at night. I live on carbs. My body, like as soon as I started my uptake in carbs, I started putting on a lot more muscle. I looked way better. So I think everybody's body's different, but I thrive on carbs, rices and potatoes, and
Do you stick with brown rice, or do you go white rice?
Usually white. I don't know. People, it's kind of back and forth. Sometimes I was eating brown rice, and somebody was like, "Well, you should be eating white rice," and I'm like, "Well, either or."
I know, right? I guess I'll see that would taste better.
Exactly.
Natty, what about you? What's how many times a day do you eat? As far as, and what's portions? Like, what are your portions? And by the way, Natty's only like 4'9". What do you weigh approximately now?
About 4'11". So now,
sorry, I didn't mean to put you in little person status. Sorry about that. Okay. I was tongue in cheek a little bit too.
So right now I'm around. I kind of go back and forth depending on the weight classes, and right now I'm around 120, which is a little much for me. But it kind of, if I'm changing that, I'll do that over like a year or something. It's not bouncing like month to month, but usually like I'll eat about 5 times a day, about anywhere from 2 to 4 hours apart, depending, because my work just sometimes you can't eat when you want to, and when I lift, you have, if I'm lifting for 2 hours and I don't like eating for 2 hours before I lift. So sometimes I'll eat 6 times a day, but usually it ends up 5. And portions, really, like I have these little glass containers that are like 2 cup size, and most of my meals fit in that with no problem. So it's not that I mean it to be like that. They're just very convenient to take to work and heat up. Except for when I eat a salad and then it's in a serving bowl.
Right. There you go. Natty, and same question I asked Susan, what's probably the last thing you eat before you go to bed, and how soon do you go to bed after your last meal at night?
I don't buy into the, like, you can't lay down like so close to eating, but I personally don't like going to bed right after I eat.
Right.
For whatever reason. So I'll usually eat maybe at least 2 hours before I go to bed. I'll come upstairs and shower, and I like to read my book if I have time. And I'll eat. Sometimes I'll eat my salad and I'll have some chicken with that or turkey. And like, I don't know, when people say like salads don't fill them up, I'm like, what are you eating then?
All right.
Like I hardly use anything processed at all ever. So like I use oil and vinegar. I try to eat as much as possible local seasonal stuff. So it really depends on the season what's in the salad.
And actually, she makes a good point. What are you eating? It's a salad really isn't iceberg lettuce with some dressing, salad dressing that you would see at the store typically dumped on it. Eat stuff like spinach and things like that in your salad, because you will get nutrients and you will feel more full. Plus, add some nuts and stuff like that on them too.
Yeah.
Kim, what about you?
Quinoa, you can do.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much you can add. Like Natty talked in episode 1, there's so much you can add to a salad, and it becomes a very healthy meal, and one that actually is sustaining for a length of time. fairly good length of time. But like I said, our metabolisms are going pretty good. So, Kim, what about you? What about a portion control? I know you've gotten better about that. So,
yeah, I've gotten a lot better about portion control. I try and eat 4 times a day, but due to my job, depending upon how many Microsoft team meetings we have or how much I'm having to interact with my buyers or clients, manufacturers, I try and get in 4 times a day. On average, though, it's really probably 3. They're definitely not heavy meals. My heaviest meal is my dinner, which I'm a super early eater. I try and be done with my dinner by 4. But unlike Natty, I do buy into I can't lay down right after my dinner. So I have to have a good 4 hours before I go to bed after I eat my last meal. And Natty, I think it's just for me, for the way my body processes what I eat.
Yeah, well, that's what I do too. I mean, I'm sure there are people that are okay with it, but
I would say at least minimum 2 hours.
Yeah. But and that 4 hours towards the end, I do start to feel like, oh my gosh, if I don't go to bed right now, I'm going to be hungry again.
Yeah.
So
right. Or wake up in the middle of the night starving.
Right.
Yeah,
With me,
that's why I eat late.
Yeah. With me, portion control was hard at first because I came from the days of powerlifting where it was, you don't stop eating till you're just full, like miserable full. And if you ate and you weren't quite full, okay, time to drink that quart of milk now. Always bulking up, always eating to get big and get stronger. Well, obviously that's one reason that, or the main reason I had my heart attack, because it was plaque in the arteries. So it came from eating and not so great like that. But so with me, portion control, it's interesting because I'll be eating and I think, okay, I can finish this or I can eat more, but I'm like, wait a minute, am I eating? Am I hungry right now? And if I'm not hungry, I'm like, well, that's obviously I've had enough food. This is how I first started doing portion control. I'm not full, but I'm not hungry anymore. So the fact I'm not hungry, it means, okay, I've filled the void for now and I'll eat the rest later. So portion control has been actually big for me, and especially having a belly like I did, which is slimming down quite well now. But I think by eating less, it kind of keeps your waistline smaller too, because your belly isn't always stretching out so much, and then it becomes used to that stretched out feeling. That's why you gals have such small little waists. But I'll just go real quick on this one. Susan, do you believe in fasting at all?
I am not a faster.
Okay.
I always when the doctor's like, it's time to get blood work done. I'm like, do I have to fast? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, crap.
Exactly.
Not the fasting. So,
Right.
yeah, I will do it to get my blood work done, and that's good. I guess I just have a really fast metabolism because I can make it from, stopping eating at 8:30 at night, and then by 8 a.m. or 7:30, I am just ravenous. I have to be in the kitchen making breakfast. So
Yeah.
I think somebody tried to talk me into doing intermittent fasting, and I was just laughing the whole time. Like, nah, that's not going to work for me.
Yeah, it wouldn't work for me either. I try to go longer between my last meal and my next meal, but it's not for me. I'm kind of like you.
Do it.
Natty, what are your thoughts on fasting? Do you believe in it? Do you do it?
No, well, I've tried it because you have to. I have to say I've tried something, but I did like a juice, like fruit kind of fasting thing, and it was just horrible.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just exhausted and just like, when can I eat something?
Right.
And I say you get used to it, but I just didn't. I don't know. Maybe it works for some people. Like for me, fasting as much as I'm going to is between dinner and breakfast. And I'm the same way. Like the minute I wake up, I'm like, I have to be getting my food right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. Kim, do you ever try it? Have you ever tried it or?
Nope, I'm with Susan. It's only for blood work, and then I try and get the earliest appointment possible
Exactly.
in the morning.
Right as they open.
Yeah, earliest one you could give me.
Yep.
Well, one thing about eating plant-based is because gut health is 70 to 80% of your immune system. Most of us have heard that before. So to have a strong immune system, you want a healthy gut. One good thing, I shouldn't say one good thing, one of the many good things about eating lots of plants and salads and stuff like that is the fact that it has a lot of fiber in it. And most Americans do not get enough fiber in their diets. They may think they do, but they're not. And so by eating a good salad and nuts and seeds, sunflower seeds, stuff like that, it keeps our bodies moving and keeps our gut healthier that way. Susan, do you have thoughts on just gut health?
Yeah,
immune
gut
system?
health. Yeah, that's a really interesting one. So I went to a really good doctor in Santa Cruz when I blew my back out, and he was like, I'm not worried so much about your back, even though I couldn't really walk. He was like, I'm worried about all the inflammation in your body and your gut health. And it was like, wait, what? So it was a little bit of an eye opener of, another one of those aha moments, like, wow, he's like, you have all this inflammation going on. And so, yeah, it was really a good time once again to take a look at what am I eating? Because I believe that inflammation and gut health are totally related. So
Absolutely.
I just know with the changing of the way that I'm eating, I just feel like my gut health has gotten a lot better. My inflammation has gone down, because that in too affected my adrenal glands. I was having some adrenal gland failure. So yeah, people don't realize what you're putting in your stomach is really affecting your entire body and the way your system is running. So that's a huge piece people really need to pay attention to. Yeah.
You are so correct on that. The inflammation can pretty much be related back to any disease. My heart inflammation of the arteries. Inflammation is something everybody has to some degree. The idea is to keep it as low as possible, because that's by having high inflammation. And the average American diet is a high inflammatory diet, is going to cause most of the diseases that they end up having or dealing with. Natty, your thoughts on that?
So well, I have two thoughts. I used to work for a supplement company, so like I deal a lot with different people. Like anytime there was a certain supplement that was on a TV show, we'd be like, well, put that out front because everybody's going to be buying it. So like that's one of the things. I think probiotics and things like that are good. They're great, but sometimes people will just stop there. Like, like, oh, I need good gut health. So they'll like add more supplements and things to their diet without actually like looking at their diet, which is kind of like you're missing the first step there. But
yeah. You're kind of putting a band-aid on a situation that needs something more than just a band-aid.
Right. Yeah. You want to be like, don't start taking those until you have like your basic diet down better. But that's actually one of the things that I've been tracking and really paying attention to in my diet lately is how many grams of fiber I'm getting, because even though I eat tons of vegetables and everything, like I was kind of surprised when I started looking at it that I wasn't even getting as much fiber as I guess I thought I should be until I started paying more attention to it.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, you can't just take a couple probiotics and then go eat a McDonald's burger.
Dang it.
That won't cure everything. No, you're exactly right on that. So, Kim,
only
what
if you
about
get
you?
a Diet Coke with it, right?
Oh, the Diet Coke. You're right. that makes it all a good, healthy meal. Forgot about that.
I'm definitely with Natty on this one. Obviously, being in the natural food industry, I do rep some companies that have PB8s, probiotics. And again, Natty's right on. You got to get your diet in control with the fruits and the vegetables and all that. Before you even really want to take that supplement, because it's not really going to help. You're just, in my opinion, grasping at straws, just looking at that supplement to do the job for you. I did try and take PB8s at one time, and they don't work for me. They literally, and I know and I think PB8s have an adjustment period too. You really have to stay on the regimen too, which I could not do. They literally made me feel like I was going to get sick to my stomach. So obviously knew it wasn't for me, and that the raw vegetables were the key.
I agree with that. The food is always going to be better to the most degree than a supplement. But you're talking to a guy who takes a lot of supplements. So I do take the PB8 product. I take it before I go to bed at night, because I figure that's when the gut is actually kind of at rest and resetting itself. So I think it kind of helps to have some probiotics in the system during that phase. Again, my opinion on that. Natty touched on it a little bit earlier. Oils. Let's talk about oils, because there's obviously healthy oils, non-healthy oils, and I'm talking about oils that you cook with and stuff. And a lot of people going to the inflammation thing will either be taking the wrong oils, because eating the wrong kind of oils, putting the wrong ones on your salads, stuff like that, or cooking them, especially cooking even a good oil beyond its smoke point can turn it into a bad oil. So and oils can be notorious for causing inflammation. So what are some oils that you use, Susan, and that you yourself
Let me refer to my notes here.
Sure. There you go.
There we go. So I have olive oil written down, obviously, which is a pretty common one. I use that like in my spray pan when I cook like different things. Coconut oil here and there. Avocado oil, I haven't tried that yet. I just literally found out there's avocado oil.
Yeah, that's the one I use, actually.
I love almond butter and just avocados for their natural oil. So I'm not a big, for some reason, I just have lost my taste for salad dressing the last few months. So yeah. I just like my salads plain. Because I put so many vegetables and lots of fruits, and so I kind of like to taste my lettuce or whatever I'm eating. So for me, I guess my oils would come from just whatever I'm cooking with, or just whatever's kind of in my food already, I guess.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Avocado is my go-to oil. Number one, I like the taste of it, and I put a little on my salad, and that's the one I cook with too. Not that I fry a bunch of food, but I do saute like some spinach and stuff sometimes, and things like that. And it's got a high smoke point, which is like 500 degrees. You can cook it up without it ruining the oil. So that's good. Yeah. Natty, what about yourself with as far as oils on your salads or anything?
Yeah, well, so in my salad, I'll usually use olive oil. Sometimes I'll use walnut oil or something like that, but most of it, we have a place near us called Olivina, and we go there, and you know the date that the olive oil came from. Like, one time, I don't know what I was doing, but I get like off on tangents, and I read a study one time about the olive oils in grocery stores and how they went through and tested all of them, and it's really not like, you don't know how old the oil is. Like they said, some of them are even like kind of rancid anyway. But so like if I'm eating that, like not cooking as much, I'll use olive oil. For cooking, we moved last year, and I have a gas stove again, which I'm super pumped about because I can use my wok. And so for cooking like that with the high temperatures, I'll use the avocado oil, sometimes coconut oil, depending if I'm making something that want to use like peanut oil or sesame oil, even though that's pretty rare. But yeah, most of the time I cook with avocado oil.
Okay. Kim, what about you? I know that you rep avocado oil, or you did. At least that's where I originally was turned on to it by.
Yeah. And to Natty's point, in your typical conventional grocery store, absolutely on the rancid, and you don't know where it's coming from. You don't know, how long it's been sitting on that shelf. Being in the natural food industry, what's really cool is if you pick a lot of brands I represent, you'll be able to trace it from the source, which is super cool. And I think that makes people feel a lot better, is the traceability of some of these oils that now exist. So you can feel better about them. Obviously, I don't know that they're ever going to be perfect, but at least you can feel better about what you're purchasing. Like Susan and Natty, I always have olive oil of some kind, use it for various things. But avocado, because of the high heat, is definitely a go-to.
Yeah. The next topic I want to talk is, I'm really excited to hear your thoughts on this, because I typically am not a person that goes to restaurants and eats very much. And Kimmy can vouch for that. I like to cook my own stuff. I like my go-to eggs are Happy eggs. They're the most orangest yolks, which tells me they're full of B vitamins and omegas. So I just like to know my ingredients the best. And so when we go out to restaurants, it's really hard for me, especially now that I've really cleaned up my diet. It's hard for me to eat. So, Susan, when you go to a restaurant, when your wonderful husband takes you out to eat, what is it? How do you restaurant eat?
Well, we don't restaurant eat. He's pretty much on his own lately. So I get pictures of him at different restaurants, like selfies. I'm eating here. I mean, I'm like, have fun. So he definitely lost his partner in crime when it comes to eating out, unfortunately.
Is that because you don't like? Is that because you don't like to eat out?
No, well, it's just that the options can be really limited with a lot of places.
Yeah.
Unless we go to a specific restaurant, we're lucky in this area. There's a couple vegan restaurants. We've got a really good vegan Mexican place. There's a couple actual, vegan restaurants. But some of like our regular places we used to go to get our like steaks and all that stuff, I would have to probably just keep it to like maybe salad and some kind of pasta or something like that when we went out. So, or I just tend to eat a lot of breakfast foods. If we go somewhere, I know I can get, especially if I know they're cooking organic or they're farm to table, I'll just do like their more breakfast based foods. And so, yeah, I don't really eat out as much.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I just don't.
It's interesting because I know people right now are thinking, well, you can always just get a salad. Almost anywhere you can get a salad. But you know what?
Yeah.
This is how you can say weird I am. When I eat salads at home, I'm washing my celery really well. I'm so clean with my vegetables that I'm not going to cook, that I get kind of freaked out, and I actually won't eat non-cooked vegetables at a restaurant because I don't know what they handled right before they're handling my salad and making it, things like that. So no, for me, I can't just go out and eat a salad at a restaurant. Natty, what are your thoughts on this subject?
So it kind of, it depends for me. Like if it's really worth it to me, if we're at a Michelin star place, I'm going to eat something and feel sick about it for 2 weeks after, but worth it. But yeah, like a lot of times I have, wherever I am, I'll have my like safe restaurants that I know as much as you can because it's a restaurant. Like you were saying, I start thinking about that, like how long was this food sitting there? How are they storing it? How they prepare it? And I just kind of get like, I'm just going to eat at home. But
exactly. Yep. That's me.
But yeah. Like if I'm getting ready for a competition, I have gone to restaurants, like with whoever I'm traveling with. I've taken my parents to a lot of competitions, like out of state or something, and I'll show up with my container of food and ask them, can you heat this up, or I'll eat it in the bathroom or something, which I'm sure is not good either. But one place actually, I think it was in Virginia, they like plated my food that I had brought and put like little parsley and things around it. But yeah, I was like, oh wow. It's a little embarrassing to travel with me.
Well, and speaking of that real quick, that's one thing that's really scary about here. You've trained for, and I've done the same thing. Here you've trained for a powerlifting competition for 12 weeks, whatever your regimen is. Yeah. You drive or fly out of town, you go, and then you're kind of stuck with restaurant food. Well, especially if you did fly out of town, because you won't carry so much food with you. And so one of the worst case scenarios is you get a bad meal the night before your competition. I think you had that happen to you once.
I have, yes.
Yeah. Do you remember what it was you ate that was bad as an example?
Well, probably not the meal you should pick, but I was in California and I had, it was some vegetables and like seared tuna.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you talked about that. So you think it was the tuna or the vegetables that weren't cooked?
I don't know. And I don't, it could sometimes, like, I can even, because I eat so clean normally, it was a stupid idea, but like I'll eat mayonnaise. I ate like this one of those tiny little sandwich things at my husband's master's graduation. And when he was walking across the stage, I was outside puking in the bushes because of the mayonnaise, which may have been fine because everybody else ate a lot more than I did and they were fine. And I was the one that was flying back to Houston, like puking every 5 minutes on the plane. So,
oh my gosh.
That guy. Oh, go ahead.
It's a downside of eating really clean most of the time, because then when you do eat something that people eat normally, your body doesn't take it quite normally. But
yeah, I was just going to say that. That's funny. Kim, I know you do go out to eat much more than me, obviously. What are your thoughts? You do eat salads out though, don't you?
I do. Like Susan, my husband will eat out every night if allowed. And he has friends that own restaurants. So
right.
So those are the restaurants we do go to if we go out to eat, where I feel the most comfortable because he's worked in the kitchens, so I can ask questions. So that's kind of my comfort zone if we're going out to eat. But no, really with the lifestyle, some of the lifestyle changes I'm trying to make, I can eat at home almost every night. I don't feel that urge to go out because then I can control my portion. I can control the quality, just like everyone was saying. So,
water intake. This is something I'm trying to get better at. I'm trying to get my gallon of water in a day, which for me it's hard. Because again, I'm a lot heavier than you folks too. So it's, if you do a body weight perspective, I need probably more water than maybe you folks. But I think it keeps your system nice and flush, and people can say, well, you can dilute your system down too much if you drink too much water. But that's why that's why I take vitamins and stuff too. So my system does have vitamins. I'm not depleting a malnourished body. But again, I think it keeps your kidneys, your liver, just your whole system flushed nicely. And that's one of the ways you get rid of the fat that you burn. If we're going to go exercise and burn some fat, that escapes you through your breath. The burned up fat is, Susan, you may have thoughts on this, but through your breath, through your pores, through sweat, and through urination. And so if you're not urinating very often because your body's in constant dehydration mode, you're not expelling that fat that you've burned very well. Susan, what are your thoughts, and how much water do you drink a day?
Yeah, so the kidneys take a beating when you're in the gym, really grinding it out. I mean, there's, when I'm in the gym, I would say, I'm easily 2 hours, however many days a week, maybe 4. The kidneys are just getting hammered. So my little saying is working kidneys are happy kidneys.
Yeah.
So with that, I mean, just by drinking a lot of water, and I kind of felt like I was kind of lagging on that for a while. So I actually put a big sign on our refrigerator that said drink water, just so it would visually be there. Oh, okay, I haven't drank my water today. Because I might drink it in the morning, and then I would drink whatever at the gym, and then I just kind of slacked the other times. So now I've made it kind of a habit to get up and drink. First thing in the morning is my 16-ounce glass of water. And then throughout the day, I drink probably, I don't know, 4 to 6 8-ounce glasses.
It's funny, we almost all have our waters with this.
Yeah, so.
It's a crystalline drink.
Yeah. And I do get up in the middle of the night lately, and I notice I drink a lot of water. But yeah, I think water definitely, it's critical for your skin, especially if you work out, you're flushing those kidneys out. And so I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
My husband was saying something. I'm like,
oh, you can pop in and say hi.
Go away. Yeah. So yeah, definitely if you're working out, you want to just make sure you're really drinking, or if you feel like your kidneys are starting to hurt, like there's times where I've actually had my kidneys start to hurt, and it's like, oh my gosh. So I really have to make sure I have to just really stay on top of it and make sure they're getting that water to, do their job.
Maddie, what about you? What's your water intake?
So this is something that I've had trouble with, because I used to be like really, I had a poor water intake. And it kind of, so when I was in a car accident and everything, and so I've had a lot of like reconstruction and vocal kind of work. And so I'd go in and see their, vocal doctors, people, and they test my voice and everything, and they'd say like, how much water are you drinking? And I'm thinking like, at that point I'm going through like a lot of surgeries and everything. I'm like, why do you care how much water I drink? And and that's what they like kept mentioning it, and I'm like, okay, I really need to pay attention to this. It's not just like, oh, I don't need that much water. And so really like I had to be very, very mindful of it, I guess, and carry my water around with me, really measure it out, keep track of it. I use an app on my phone, and I drink. Yeah, I had to, because if I wasn't keeping track of it, I wasn't drinking enough. Well, and I get migraines too, and that doesn't help that either. So I'll drink 10 cups of water a day.
Okay.
Usually, but sometimes it's like at the end of the day, I'm like, oh no, I haven't drank enough water. Yeah.
Kim, what about you? How much water do you drink a day, approximately?
This is something like Natty. I have really, probably in the last month, been really tracking my water intake through an app also. So I'm about 64 ounces a day right now. So
what's this?
Obviously,
what's this app that tracks water?
Yeah.
What's this water?
My Fitbit tracks it for me.
Oh, okay. Really?
Yeah,
So if I go into that app and I constantly update, once I've, if I drink 3 16-ounce bottles, then I can go in and I can easily calculate it. Yeah. Which makes me very mindful.
Yeah. Real quick, Natty, what app do you use on that?
I actually have the Fitbit app, and I have my Fitness Pal. They talk to each other. So I'll enter it in my Fitness Pal, and then
Interesting. Okay. I'm sorry. We'll go back to Kim, because we're actually going to talk about the Fitbits here in a minute. That's an interesting subject. So Kim, finish. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, it's okay. So when the first thing I get up in the morning, that's how I start my day. I start with a warm cup of water with some lemon squeezed in it. That's the first thing I drink. to start my day. And then I have 1 cup of black tea with nothing in it. And then the rest of the day, it's purely water.
Okay. We hit an hour. Is everybody doing okay right now? On time? Everybody's okay? Okay, good. Let's go into blood work and the importance of blood work. My thoughts are blood work is extremely important, on whether it be on an annual physical, and I think it's better to get blood work twice a year myself is what I think is good. I base my workouts and a lot of things on that blood work because it shows you what things you need to work on, your liver, your kidney enzymes, or your liver enzymes, your kidneys, and all kinds of things. Cholesterol. Susan mentioned cholesterol earlier, and triglycerides. I mean, your glucose. It's so many things in there that show you what you need to work on. Susan, what are your thoughts on blood work, the importance of blood work, how often you have it done?
Yeah, so I have mine done twice a year.
Okay, see.
And so once again, all of the plant-based came out of all the blood work. And I was looking at over again the other night. So in February of 2019, I was at 252. My LDL bad cholesterol was 173. 2.5 months later, my cholesterol dropped to 162 and my LDL to 95.
Jeez.
So I now maintain about 170, maybe 175 with my cholesterol. So that was huge because he literally was like, I'm writing you a thing for statins. And I was like, oh, you want to make a bet? I said, I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back in like 3 months. I came back in 2.5 months. And he was like, oh my gosh. So I was really determined. I'm not I don't like to take medications of any sort. I never have. And I certainly wasn't going to start. So for me, it's like clockwork. Twice a year, I have everything checked, especially with women. Getting any hormonal levels checked, I think, is really critical. But yeah, it checks everything. What are your sugar levels? There's just so many things you really, you want to make sure you're in the green on all of your levels every year. And that's one huge thing I kind of try to let a lot of people know. I don't even know if a lot of people get like yearly physical exams anymore. Like it's kind of strange. They do. Yeah, I talked to a lot of my older friends and none of them do it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to do that.
And this is a good time to show, because most people think, well, I feel like I'm fit, so I don't have to. I mean, this is Susan right here. She just went over some of her cholesterol. Look at this. You would never think this is someone with high cholesterol.
I was 47 there too.
Yeah. And
sometimes
so,
I'm like,
I mean,
what?
Someone that would look like this, you wouldn't even think, oh, I'm fine. It's easy to blow off. And then she goes and finds out that she had some issues she had to deal with and of course dealt with them. But Natty, what are it's interesting because everyone except for Natty, the rest of us, we're in our 50s. So we're kind of given that different perspective on that there, where it really is, man, when you're in your 50s and obviously earlier too, it's so important to have blood work done. Because again, obviously Susan and myself both have based what we've eaten and our workouts and things like that on what we saw in our blood work. And I just want to say this really quick. And Susan, it's interesting. You told that doctor, oh no, I'm not on the set, and be glad you're not, because I am on one. And it's unavoidable because of my heart issue that I had.
Yeah.
And the plaque buildup. But I said the same thing. I went in for my last physical because I'd kind of let myself go, with COVID, and I'm not going to blame something. The bottom line is I let myself go. And it's, he went ahead and labeled me because I was pre-diabetic, and he went ahead and labeled me that. I'm like thinking, oh really? Okay. And he didn't do the one, and I was fasted, but he didn't do the A1C, I think is where it shows where it's like a couple weeks or a month at a time or something like that. He just did the one where it showed what it was that day. And I'm like, he even wrote in his notes, you're going to label I'm going to go ahead and label you type 2 diabetic, because figuring I'm not going to change. I'm thinking, oh, you don't know me, doctor, very well. So I'm going to be going back 6 months from that January 12th appointment and having it redone. And I've already lost over 20 pounds and all that stuff.
I know.
And cleaned up the diet. So that was one mission, one thing that put me on this mission to get back to what I was a few years ago. So
Yep.
the point of this is some of us do look at our blood work very seriously and go to that. And I think that it's important that people at least know what's going on. Natty, how old are you, Natty?
35.
5. Okay. And so what are your thoughts as that generation that typically is not really thinking about their blood work at this time in their life and things like that?
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, maybe I go to my PCP, I get blood work done every year, and I'm kind of lucky to have a PCP that like kind of takes things more seriously than some other doctors might. Some people will say like, well, you're young, you're in good shape, like why do you need to do that? Like, why are you here? Why, when you say like, well, isn't that what you're supposed to do, like in a yearly physical, and make sure everything's okay? And some doctors that I've been to are kind of like, well, whatever, if you want to. But in some of my previous job, like I worked at MD Anderson, a cancer center in Houston, and some of the stuff they do with the integrative medicine and things like that, where they're looking at your diet and your keeping a healthy weight and your lifestyle and stuff to address problems. I guess I kind of look at it from that way, like, yeah, I'm doing all right now, but why would I wait 20, 30 years to get blood work done and find out that I've had like cholesterol that was like a little bit high that just got worse and worse and worse because I didn't realize there was something that I could be changing sooner. So.
Yep. Good point. Exactly. Kim, what about you as far as your blood work? I know you do an annual physical, at least.
Yes, I do. I do an annual physical, and I take my paperwork straight to my brother.
Nah.
So he can. So he has a much better understanding than what I do. So I really rely on him. I'm very blessed, and I need to learn more. Like my blood pressure has always been not super low, but normal. So I need to get more diverse in the fact that just because my blood pressure is at a good average doesn't mean that everything's okay. So that's why I take my paperwork straight to him.
Yeah, it's definitely, like Natty mentioned, man, if you can just see something that might be starting to get bad, and if you can just nip that in the bud right away, it takes determination though. And like we've all heard the quote many times, I don't want to be part of the overuse of it, but it's a marathon, not a sprint. This is a lifestyle that we need to adapt and make it our lifestyle, because we do want to be healthy. Like I said, it's when the show first started, it's there's life. They say it can be argued that life expectancy has gotten better. Well, that's because of doctors and pills and stuff. Yes, but you're sicker for longer is what it comes down to. And we want healthy years, we want longevity, but we also want those years to be healthy years. Now, guess what? We're going to go into exercise. As long as everybody's doing okay and you need bathroom breaks or anything from all our water drinking, do you? Yeah, seriously, go ahead. We'll stall a little bit here because I'm going to probably have to go too. And that's okay. We are going to talk about exercise next. So we're still live, just so we know. So we'll just kind of stall a little bit though, because I definitely want to actually, why don't we just go to you, Natty? Let's talk about your exercise regimen. I know you are a power lifter, and so kind of go through, but I don't know much about you. I know you don't like cardio typically. So, but talk a little bit about just your overall, not just your powerlifting, because we've talked about that, but I know that you have a powerlifting based workout. So what a tip overall though, what do you do for your body? And we will show a picture of your little body here. Right. Look at that.
Yeah. So it's kind of, like that whole lifestyle thing. Besides my powerlifting training, throw in the accessory lifts and everything. I do occasionally run, even though I do make a big deal about it when I do. But it's nice, and depending on different times in my life, I lived on the Montour Trail in Pittsburgh for a while, and it's like miles and miles, like it connects to other states. So you could go and kind of, it was more like a mental thing of like being on your own, but I tend to find like just mentally, I need some activity that is making me hurt. it just makes me feel, I don't know. It kind of resets you. So I've done different things like rock climbing, like bouldering inside and things. I mean, through my life, I love riding horses. I don't really have the opportunity now, but I work with dogs, which is an exercise in itself when they're not trained dogs that live at home with you. But like I don't turn down the opportunity to do something new, like try scuba diving or kayaking. I like, but just keep it interesting.
So basically kind of what you're saying is you live with a lot of activity, and that activity is a form of exercise, obviously. And so, but your actual gym time, how much time are you in your gym each week?
Not that, even though I cannot convince my mother of this, but I am not in the gym for like hours and hours and hours every day. And again, it depends on where I am in training, like how close to a competition or something, and how fast I'm going. If I'm lifting, like if I'm lifting with my coach in person, he'll go real fast. And I'm like, whoa, hold on. I'm like, I need to catch my breath. Because when I'm by myself on my own, I tend to like get a little slow in between stuff. But it'll be for a week, no more than 6 hours in the gym.
That's what people need to understand is it sometimes it depends on, I love being in the gym stuff too, but I still only go 3 days a week or so to that actual gym. I do my treadmill work and stuff. It's something that can take a lot of your time and doesn't have to take as much of your time. It's just moving the body, it will get a lot of people much healthier than they are in their sedentary lifestyle. Kim, what about you? You're an avid walker. I know that.
Yes. That's probably the thing I enjoy the most, and really started getting back in the gym right before COVID hit. Actually, when my brother was recovering from an injury, I got started back up because he was unable to drive at that time. So I was his person to take him there. And so it got me inspired to rejoin the gym and stuff. And then COVID hit, got a little bit more difficult. And then probably the last month now, we finally got a treadmill and have it on our property. So was, walking during those times, but now am able to run again. So it's been really nice.
That treadmill's helped with my morning fasted cardio too, which is making a difference. Susan, this is a great topic for you. So especially, I mentioned earlier, our age, we're in our 50s. So throw in a little bit of when, as you're working out and what your workouts kind of are these days and things like that, and your thoughts on the importance of exercise, but also kind of mention as we do get older, joint protection while we exercise, because that's something that, I mean, I'm 58 and I cannot tell you, of course I come from a powerlifting background. I cannot tell you how many people I know that have had hip replacements, shoulder replacements, knee replacements, and if they have them replaced, they're all in pain in those areas. Again, it's from a powerlifting, but it's also, I know a martial arts guy who wore out his hip from too many kicks throughout his career, and he was a phenomenal martial arts guy. Had to have both hips replaced. So I'll kind of talk also in your exercise talk about your thoughts on joint health as we get older.
Okay. Well, I know I'm going to be 56 next month. So yeah, I guess my gym regimen, well, before pre-COVID, I would say I would spend an hour lifting, but the way that I work out is if it's, let's say it's bicep and tricep day, I will do my first set of whatever I'm doing for biceps. I'm down on the ground. I'm doing my core. I kind of do it in groupings of 3. First set of bis or tris, I'm on the ground doing something for core. Number 2 on the ground, number 2, number 3, and number 3. So I'm constantly moving. So for me, I guess it's a combination of weight lifting, a lot of body weight exercises, tons of balance exercising, one leg exercises. I'm huge on one leg working out. I always joke, I tell people, you'll never see me sitting at the gym unless I'm in the bathroom. I'm always moving. And so I tell people who are just, because a lot of times I look around and people they'll do a couple things and then they're sitting there for a while and they're chatting it up. And it's kind of like, it's keeping that momentum, it's building the strength, it's building endurance. It's kind of, I try to encapsulate all of that when I go into the gym. And yeah, your body's going to change, obviously, as we get older. I mean, my 55-year-old body, I'm not going to be doing things that I did even when I was 47. I was doing one leg jumps on plyo boxes that were probably this high. And I'm like, wow, I can't even imagine doing that right now. I'm like, right. That's crazy. But, our life is going to change. Our body's going to change. I always tell people you have to walk before you have to crawl before you walk. So if you're new to doing something in the gym, I tell people, start with jump roping to get your joints and your feet strong. Because you have to not only get strong within your muscles, but you have to make sure that you're conditioning your joints and your tendons and everything else that you're working with your body. I think it's really hard, especially as for a lot of the men that are those guys who were in the weight room in high school and they were on the football team and it's like, I'm going to rip it up this weekend. I'm going to go to the gym, or they're in there and doing stuff that they really probably shouldn't be doing. Right. A lot of times I see people lifting way too heavy. Even trainers, I see them training people and I'm just like, it takes everything in my body to not walk over and say, oh my God, put that weight down. What are you doing? Right. Not only are their muscles not prepared for that, their joints and their tendons are not able to lift that kind of weight. So the main thing I wish people would do is just take the time to really think about what's my goal? What's my plan when I go to the gym every day? Do I have a plan, or am I just hitting a plateau all the time because I'm constantly kind of doing the same workouts that I do? So it's good to challenge your body, but you always want to think about building from the ground up. And to me, the core is kind of the foundation of your body. If you have a strong core base, starting from like those deep core stabilizers and building a good core system, then your entire body is going to be ready for a really good workout.
Right.
That's just kind of what I've learned with training people, and for myself, you just, you have to kind of have a really good core system developed before you start doing a lot of crazy stuff in the gym.
Right. Yeah. I'll just touch on what you said there about the manly men that have to go in there and handle this. You know what? I know people that can bench press, let's just say 250 pounds, but they can't do a push-up, a proper push-up. I think it's more functional for somebody to maybe just go in. You want to be a manly man, crank out a set of regular push-ups, good ones. And that's kind of where I'm at these days. You're talking about a guy who powerlifted for 14 years, who did professional wrestling, who benched 551 pounds. But you know what? My goals nowadays, you mentioned goals changing as we get older. My goal now is to daily walk 10,000 steps a day. It's to be able to do 100 push-ups. I'm at 80 right now in one full set, going all out. But I do multiple sets of stuff. Things like that. You got to have your goals. If you don't have goals, you're not going to stay motivated. You're not going to make changes where you need to be, but the goals can change. And that's all right as we get older to have our goals change,
Yeah. I went from a full-on bodybuilder to completely having a paradigm shift of how I train 12 years ago to, I look aesthetically great, but I can't run a freaking mile. I got on a treadmill one day and I'm like, oh my God, I literally can't run a mile. But look at me, I'm ripped. I've got a ton of muscle. People would think I'm healthy, but cardiovascularly, I was like a mess. Like, that's not healthy. Like, what is going on? So that's where I was just like totally changed the way I worked out to being much more functional, body weight, just all of these different things to actually use my cardiovascular system as I'm working out, and not just kind of doing a ton of anaerobic stuff. So that's where I think a lot of times people need to really think about, is this workout really working for my body? Am I really as fit as I think that I am? So you're kind of your own advocate. So you kind of have to really be there for yourself and reevaluate yourself almost on a yearly basis, or even more so, to make sure that you're kind of going in the right direction with your body. Are my joints achy? Well, if they're achy, it's because you have inflammation. You're either overtraining, you're not recovering enough. You kind of have to listen to your body too, to make sure you're kind of taking care of yourself.
And that's so true. You pretty much said it all. I can't even really add much to that because it was perfect. Let's talk about as far as goal setting and stuff like that. Who out of all of us, who has like the Fitbit watches or whatever? Is everybody? Susan, you actually don't have one. It's actually kind of surprising. I would have guessed you would add one. I think this is brand new to me, and I think it's pretty interesting because this is how easy it is for someone to set a goal. Because we're all, natty in the midst of it. My past, I've done a lot of extreme athletic stuff. Some of us aren't there anymore, but so people might look at that and be like, well, I can't be like them. I can't bench 551 pounds. I can't look like Susan. I can't lift the kind of weights Natty does, especially for her size. The goals don't have to be that extreme. It can be like, since I've got this watch, I even looked up and researched it, where the 10,000 step came, why is that so popular? And I'm realizing with my lifestyle and my job being kind of sedentary and all that, that's actually
Did he freeze? I'm moving. Is anybody else moving? We lost Todd.
There we
go.
Okay, I was kind of hoping it was going to go. Anyway, I'll kind of rush to the point here. It could be as simple. You get one of these watches and you set your goal. Like, you look at the first day and you're like, wow, I've only walked 2,500 steps. I need to up that. And so your goal is to beat that. And then suddenly it becomes that. And then you realize, well, you know what? This 10,000 step thing is pretty popular. My goal now, which has just become mine, and this is day 2, of being able to do every day that 10,000 step thing. But that's how easy goals can be. For a guy, if you can't do a push-up, your goal should be able to do one good push-up and then go from there. The goals can be simple. 90% of the population can walk. Granted, there's some extreme cases that unfortunately people aren't able to walk, but the ones that can, like Susan said, she couldn't run a mile right at first, when she started back. And that could be something to be able to, if you can't walk very far, to walk a couple of blocks a day and then keep that up and then get further and have your goal be by summer, I'm going to fast walk a mile. So goals can actually, they don't have to be super extreme like we did when we were younger, or like Natty has now, with her powerlifting. She's still competing in powerlifting. So going back to the Fitbit thing, one thing it does is track your sleep. Let's quickly talk about the importance of sleep. Susan, what's your sleep like, and how important do you think that is? How many hours do you like to get to feel the best?
I would say I'm usually out by like 11:30 and wake up about 7:30.
Okay.
So what is that, like 7 or 8?
Yeah,
so
you like your 8 hours.
Yeah, I usually feel pretty good with that. Obviously, the more you're working out or the heavier you're working out, that's really the critical piece, because we all know the body's recovering, the muscles are repairing, all of that's kind of a really critical piece. And I do feel when I don't get enough sleep, I feel horrible. I have no energy. It affects your mood. So yeah, I think it's a really critical piece for everybody.
So you're a believer, for you to get 8 hours is kind of like your number. Natty, what about you? As far as sleep.
This is like my worst. This is without a doubt. I think it's very, very important for all, like the reasons Susan's saying. Like you can't even think straight without even realizing it when you're not getting enough sleep. And but I'm really bad at that personally. I aim for like around 8 hours, but usually it's closer to 7 or something. But I'm tired all the time. So, the problem is I get up really early and I don't change that, but then like everybody makes fun of me for going to bed early, but I need to in order that's math, right? So sometimes I'll end up being up later than I wanted to, like if I have to work late and then I eat dinner late and I don't want to go to bed right after I eat dinner, and then I end up going to bed at 10 o'clock and I'm just like all thrown off the next day.
Yeah.
Well, and we'll go to Kim in just a second here, but yeah, you made a good point when you talk about your meal, and it's like how you don't feel good when you don't get enough sleep, and it's, hey Chevy, but like food, you can actually go for fast for a good month or more, actually, if need be, without food. Your body, you will live without that. Water, obviously, you need. Sleep. If you go about a week with no sleep, you're going to become mentally psychotic. And so it shows the importance of sleep, how it's important that you get it often, and that you can't go very long, and what starts happening to your body when you don't get enough sleep, and how it's tough, because since I've gotten this watch, I'm realizing I thought I was sleeping good. Granted, I'm with the weight loss, I'm hoping to get off having sleep apnea, but I have sleep apnea, I have the CPAP machine and stuff. And so I thought I was sleeping great, which I was much better since the CPAP machine. But then I'm realizing with these watch, I'm getting a lot of light sleep, not the good deep sleep, and not really much REM sleep at all. So I don't know really how to work on that too much. If anyone, Susan, do you take melatonin or anything before you go to bed?
I don't, but I was having an issue for a while where I was having a really hard time not only getting to sleep but staying asleep. I still kind of have my 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock wake ups.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a tough one. I just find that I don't know. I think if I have whatever exercise for the day and I have time to shower and just kind of chill out and watch whatever show, and that seems to help. But yeah, that's a tricky one because I've gone through that cycle myself where it's kind of like, where you lay there and you're like, okay, if it's 12 o'clock now and so many hours, okay, well, it's 1 o'clock now.
Yeah.
So I have been there, I know.
Well, and with as much water as we drink too, we're not going to go 8 hours typically without being able to have to get up and go to the bathroom.
I know, yeah. Hence the the 2 times I get up, yeah.
Yeah, same here. Kim, I know you have your Fitbit watch. So it sounds like you've been tracking more than I have, though. What, because you mentioned the water thing.
Sleep is one thing I have not tracked yet. And I think it's just due to, I'll have to experiment. I don't want to lose sleep over trying to track it because I'm not sure how I feel about it being on my wrist at night. So
yeah,
I'm up for the challenge. I need to try it, but I haven't done it yet. Probably on average, I get 7 hours of sleep a night. I'd love to get 8, but anything below 7, I feel like I'm not functioning. Like I can't think straight. Well,
and with me, it took a little getting used to having it on at night too. But I'm thinking, okay, if I take this off at night, my 1 or 2 trips to the bathroom in the middle of the night, it's not going to calculate 20 steps. Those are 20 steps I want calculated. But anyway,
run in place.
Yeah, there you go. So Natty, what are you kind of talked about a little bit. Do you wear yours to bed at all and track any of that?
I do. It's funny because a lot of times, I use my phone for my alarm. So it's like right there. And I have my Fitbit. I have it like in the middle of my arm because I have carpal tunnel. And so I'm like all suited up for bedtime. But But that's one thing I always think. I think about the Radium girls and like Marie Curie and how she'd sleep with like a radium like under her pillow, and then they found out like years later how horrible that was for your health, and you're like, why were you doing that? Right. So I do think about that, but I still do it.
Yeah. Well, do you track your steps per day? I have to ask that.
Yeah, I do.
What do you get on average?
It really depends on work and what I'm doing. Like some days, if I have to enter more like vet treatments and email people more, I'll get like the low end maybe 6,000 or 7,000 some. But okay. If I'm working with the dogs, especially if I'm working in the kennel or something, I'll get around like 15,000 or so.
I know that they're definitely beneficial. Someone like me who's obsessive compulsive, it's like now I find myself, if I sit down in the gym, I'm like, wait, I should be pacing around between sets a little bit. It'll give me more steps. So it kind of keeps me in that, but so it could be good or bad with me.
I am not getting one.
Yeah, I know. You're like that too.
Yes, dear God.
Oh my gosh. I know. It's like I want to take it off to charge the darn thing. I'm thinking, well, how many steps am I going to? Oh, good. It was the devil and an angel getting this thing, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'll leave mine in my car and I'll tell my husband, I can't go get it because
Oh man, that's funny. The Kim, did you have anything you wanted to add to that? Anything about your watch? Any apps you like particular? Or?
No, it's just that I kind of like Natty said, I have a job where I sit a ton.
So do I.
If I allow myself. So it really is, using it makes me more aware.
We'll start to wrap up. I think we covered most of the subject, unless Susan, you had some stuff in your notes that I'm skipping over. That's two things real quick. Vitamin supplements. Who all takes like an array of supplements? I mean, I have a huge amount of different ones I take for different reasons, and for my goals that I have for myself, and zinc and vitamin D and all this kind of stuff. Susan, what about you on that? And anything else you want to add, if I'm missing anything too, please.
For my vitamins, I just take my daily, I take a B12, B6, folic acid. I think I just dropped it to like 3,000 micrograms per day. And then I take about 1,200 milligrams of fish oil every day, because that's really good. It's a good anti-inflammatory, and that's really all I take.
Now, for you living where, if you want to tell, Monterey, California, you get a lot of sun there, right?
We do.
So do you feel that you really don't need to take an additional vitamin D because of your out in the sun?
My fish oil actually comes with a D.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I've learned to really love walking. So yay for the walkers, Kimmy.
Yeah.
We're just like, I used to never really be a walker. I'd see people walking and I'd be like, what are they doing? Why are you're just walking around? So now I love it. Like, I found little parks around by our house. And so I'm trekking some good mileage, and so I kind of get a little more vitamin D just kind of getting outside. I at least try to get outside once a day if it's, sunny, just to kind of get that natural light. And
so speaking of the walking thing, it's like, well, I'm glad we have the treadmill, because I can use the treadmill to get my walk in. Because if I had to go to the mall and be in mall, I'd be like, oh no, I'm one of those old mall walkers.
The silver sneakers. The silver sneakers.
Geez. My mom's one of those. God. Jeez. So Natty, what about you on that?
So, I've when I worked at Supplement Central, I try anything they brought in. This, this is supposed to do whatever. And, I don't buy into most of it. And I'll get all into my mind with it's, you look at calcium, just because it has this many milligrams doesn't mean it's equal to that many milligrams in a different calcium, and the different forms and all that stuff. So I'm kind of a little bit suspicious, I guess, of any supplements, and just labels that say whatever it says on the label doesn't necessarily mean that is something that you need to be taking. So right now I try to get most of what I need just from foods, and I take calcium, magnesium, vitamin D, and with workouts and stuff I'll use aminos, like the branched chain aminos, glutamine. But the products I use are no food coloring, no sweeteners, no anything. The one I can barely choke down because it tastes so horrible. But then it's making sure that I'm not having sucralose and whatever. I'm just trying not to add anything that I don't need to.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, sucralose, that adds something because I held up my water jug earlier, and it's like that Crystal Light stuff, and that's the only way I can drink my water, though. I can't just drink like Susan, wake up and drink the water down. I have to have at least some flavoring in there, and so that's, I guess you could say, something that's not so great that I do. Kim, what about you on supplements? You're in the industry, so you get a lot of different ones. Oh, can you hear me, Kim?
Yes, I can. Well, as I mentioned, I do take Juice Plus because I'm not a huge vegetable or cooked vegetable eater. So in order to get that fiber and those vitamins, I do take juice plus vitamins. And probably other than that, I do take vitamin C because we do live in the Pac Northwest where there's not a huge amount of sunshine, and B12. And then I do take melatonin at night, just simply due to the hormonal changes at 55.
Well, and melatonin actually is a hormone that's why old people don't typically sleep too much. They lose that as they get older. It starts diminishing. Chevy wants to be fed.
Yes, she does. You're right.
We'll wrap up with the last topic, because the audience would not be happy if I didn't, if I had this panel and didn't talk about ab training. And yes, I know it's really about core, strengthening of the core and all that, but it's okay that we talk about aesthetics a little bit. So let's face it. You gals have great abs to look at, not just strong core, but great abs. And people want that. I mean, it's so hard to get because it takes a lot of discipline and lifestyle, because you can lose them. When I say lose them, it's obviously layers of fat can come over and you don't see them. I'm trying to get back to what I was about 6 years ago. I'll show a picture real quick to show I really do have abs. Yeah, I'm trying to get that back. That's one of my goals right now, is to have those back by summer. So Natty, we'll talk with you first, and then we'll go to Susan. I showed these pictures earlier, but you have wonderful abdominals. So how often, what do you do for your abs? Again, I know it's about core, but I want to talk about aesthetics on this a little bit.
So I guess, I don't have a really hard time. Not that I guess I eat well, I exercise a lot, but just in that, I have a pretty good start, compared to some people that might have a harder time with that. I can really tell a difference with abs, just how they look with food differences, honestly. And if I have a lot of salt, it's just the next day I'm like, whoa. But that's one thing that I'll do either at the beginning or the end of every workout. There's not many, and I don't do the same exact exercise, but I'll do that, just a little bit of it every time I'm in the gym. A little bit with some stretching in between sometimes, just to try to get moving. But I really, and if I'm doing a photo shoot or something, I'm really focusing more on diet, because other than that layer over top of them, pretty much my training and my lifestyle, it's just, that's the way it is.
Yeah. So as far as ab training, do you do direct ab training at all, first of all? And if you do, is it once a week, twice a week? What? Just give me that. Yeah,
so I don't do a lot of it till I'm curled up and can't straighten out anymore. But when I've done sit-up challenges, maybe, but otherwise, I'll do 1 or 2 ab-focused exercises with every workout. So at least 3 times a week, I'm doing something. Just 3 to 5 sets of 10 to 20 reps, depending on what I'm doing. So it's one of the things I kind of like to do. So
yeah, it's definitely not the most fun thing. It's interesting, Susan, we'll go to you here in just a second. It's interesting because I train at a gym that's pretty hardcore. I mentioned Planet Fitness earlier. It's not that gym, different gym. But some amazing bodybuilders there who, when they diet down, they have their abs, but in the off season, they can't see them, so they don't train them. I thought that was so strange how they're not keeping up with direct abdominal training. I don't know. Anyway, I guess that's a side of it. But Susan, let's go. I know you do. I'll bring up a couple of the pictures again really quick so the audience can see. I know you do a lot of core work in general. Is that mainly how you get your abs, or do you do direct abdominal work also?
I am probably a combination of all of that. I would say, so that's a really good example of my training. I tell people, get off the equipment, get off the bench, get on the floor. Because I think a lot of the stuff you can do, like that could be easily a tricep exercise where you're in a plank position, you're working the core, you're getting your plank done or your triceps done. So for me, I'm very what I call core centric in my workout. So that means with all the balance aspect of everything that I do, I'm constantly engaging my core to be doing something. So yeah, so a lot of it is indirect core work, but then during my workout, I'm doing, like I mentioned, in between each set of whatever I'm working that day, I'm doing a different core exercise. So whether I'm having body weight day or plank day or side plank day where I'm really focusing on my obliques that day, yeah, it's a huge focus for me, is my core.
Yeah. Interesting, because so how many days a week approximately do you train? Do you work out?
So let's say I'm in 4 days a week. I work the core pretty much every day, but it's going to be done differently. So if it's a weighted day, I'm going to be doing all weighted exercises for that day. The next day, it's going to be maybe oblique day. So I'm doing a ton of different, functional exercises in a side plank, however I'm going to do those. And then maybe it's going to be planking the next day, weighted or unweighted, however I'm going to do that. To me, that just kind of I'm just making sure I'm really building a good foundation, but aesthetically it looks good because I feel like I'm kind of making everything very symmetrical. I'm not just kind of focusing here. I'm kind of making sure the obliques are popping, that I'm really kind of hitting everything. And yeah, obviously diet is huge. I mean, it's the number one question I get asked when I'm in a gym. How do you get your abs? And I think too, a lot of times some people are just genetically blessed in some ways. Some people have great calves. Some people can get their calves if they tried. Some people have really good arms. Other people really struggle with that. So I just tell people, do what's good for you. Eat the healthiest way you can eat. Don't expect your abs to look like, Joe Blow next to you, because we all are so different. Like for me, I've just been really blessed that it's a super easy area for me to like get lean and but yeah, it's being really just making sure that I keep my diet really clean, and I'm getting a lot of plyometrics in. That's kind of how I lose my body fat. I do a ton of plyometrics, and but yeah, I think the main thing is it's like any other muscle. You want to rest it, but to really get that nice six-pack look, you obviously have to not be afraid of using weighted exercises or, doing something to build that muscle out, because you kind of need to get that, build the muscle up, basically, is what I tell people.
Yeah, because a lot of people can diet down and be pretty lean, but not have good abs. I was talking to a guy who won the Mr. Oregon bodybuilding contest just yesterday in 2013. And he was talking about, how everybody genetically has a little bit different abs, even the way they look, and whether they're perfectly symmetrical all the way down or offset a little bit, or don't, like he himself says he battles with his lower abs.
And that's the hardest. And that's what I tell people who are like, I can't get rid of this little pooch. And it's because it's like, well, that's where the fat on your body tends to kind of sit. It starts on the lower ab and you get leaner as you go up. So your diet's really going to tell you how lean am I really by how defined your abs are. And it's that lower ab that's the tricky part. That's the tough guy down there. That's the really tough one to get. So yeah.
How many regular, not knees down, but regular push-ups can you do if you were to just get on the floor and do push-ups? How many could you think you could wrap out?
Well, I am a huge push-up person, so
cool.
Because I don't really do any direct chest exercises. So my back and chest day, I'm doing roll back push-ups. I mean, I could do hundreds in a day.
What,
literally
well, like
on
if
my
you were
press
to,
and back day. I could
if
probably
you were
do a
to
couple hundred.
warm up a little bit and go on the floor and just crank out a set of push-ups, what's your best number or
Are you
in one
talking
set?
now or pre-COVID?
Well, give me an example of both, for instance.
Oh my God.
Well, what's
I
your best
honestly,
set?
I don't
What's your
even
best?
know right now. I don't
What's your
even-
best? Your best set of them. And now do you
Oh.
think, because you're coming up next?
Oh, I mean, if I were just to drop and do push-ups?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. I think I got up to, I may have had to stop in between, but I'm thinking I used to be able to do probably close to 100,
Nice.
but I may have had to stop once in between.
Wow.
But now I'm not even sure. 10?
So you are,
I don't know.
yeah. And Natty, we're
I'm
coming
not
to you
a
next with these same two questions, but thoughts on the ab wheel, because Jeff Cavaliere kind of likes those, and Sylvester Stallone, that's a big one for him. So I've gone back to the ab wheel, and it's amazing, but yet it's a love-hate relationship between me and the ab wheel. But what gets me through it is Sylvester Stallone does these. I must do these. So your thoughts on the ab wheel? Susan.
Me? Yeah.
No, not yet. You're coming up next. So
Oh, for me?
On the
Oh.
ab wheel.
Oh God, I think I tried the ab wheel once and I just threw it. I was like, what is this thing? Like
Yeah,
it totally, it hurt my shoulders.
Okay.
It's great because it's like a full range of motion.
Yeah.
I get that. But I was having some shoulder issues. I had a
Okay.
little bit of tendonitis in my shoulder. And I was like, yeah, did it and done. I can't do it.
So you believe it's a good exercise, it just because of different things, like the
Yeah,
shoulder.
I
it
have
wasn't
a
for you.
shoulder issue. Yeah.
Okay. Natty, push-ups. How many have you done in one set?
I don't know. You know, that's what I was trying to think. I used to do workouts kind of based on the like a military kind of grading system. So
Okay.
like I did a lot of sit-ups and push-ups for a while there. Good for when you go to like the Arnold Expo or something and then you win everything. But right now, I really honestly have no idea how many push-ups I could do. I have some trouble like with my elbows, so a lot of times I'm kind of the opposite. I got an ab wheel. I don't know why it took me so. I guess because I was at the gym and they had them there, but I bought my own for like $6, and I love it. And I think just like the difference of like push-ups where you have more like elbows involved in it versus the ab wheel where I can do it without as much elbow moving. That I really do like the ab wheel. I do think a lot of people use it incorrectly that I've seen in the gym. So like they're not really doing the exercise properly with it. Just the way they're holding it, and they're not really using their abs as much.
It was probably that's probably what was my problem. I had never used one. I'm like, what is this thing? And I'm sure I was like, is it all shoulders or?
Yeah. Yeah.
Natty, that it might be good. You always do a lot of your workouts, well, at least parts of your workouts on a little bit on video sometimes and pictures, Natty. You should do an ab wheel one for real.
All right.
That'd be awesome because you're right. A lot of people don't. I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. Where I started out not really doing them, I finally just now kind of getting the hang of it. Kim, we got to get you doing some push-ups, even if it's just on the knees. Do you do any? Do you kind of because with the home workouts and stuff?
Well, I remember owning an ab wheel. Sheesh, I don't know, in the 90s. I probably don't have it anymore. But yeah, and this is where I can learn, you know, from the three of you is I always felt like I needed to lose some of that body fat before I start working my abs, which I know probably is not true. I see my cousin shaking her head at me. So I think it's a mindset thing for me, honestly, is just to not think that way and to start. Because I always felt like, can you get abs underneath my little fat roll?
Yeah. And it's good too, because if you have any lower back issues,
Right.
you really want to make sure you're conditioning those deep core stabilizers, because that's going to protect your back. And yeah, any kind of planking or any, just start in a basic elbow plank and say, I'm going to hold for 20 seconds, and then maybe I'll get up to 30 seconds. And yeah, that's all really critical to really kind of make sure you're keeping all your muscles there strong.
And Natty probably feels like she's at work by hearing the dog whining, but
I'm sorry.
But Susan makes a really good point that I got to mention. I talk about the ab wheel because it's kind of my nemesis right now, but she's right. Susan's right. You don't start out with the ab wheel. Start out with some planks. No. Exactly. But so I think things to add to the walking for someone like Kim would be with the knees down and what they call the girl push-ups, to start kind of. Oh, do you want to say something, Susan?
I have a question. No, I'm sorry. I'm just going to comment on that. So a lot of my clients who are just starting out to do push-ups, I actually start them on a wall. So you're going to have your feet far away from the wall, and you're just going to do push-ups against the wall. When that starts to feel easy, then I tell people find a kitchen table or the back of the couch, and you're going to have a little bit more of a decline, and then you're going to move to a couch, and then you can move to your knees on the floor, because you're not going to have so much of gravity pulling you. So it's kind of just a systematic way of kind of slowly building that muscle, and kind of activating, getting people acclimated with doing that movement from a kind of a standing, little bit more gravity to a little bit more gravity. Yeah. So just kind of step down to it, because even on the knees, that can be really tough because you're not really getting full range of motion. Okay. But if you start on the wall, you can really learn, okay, this is my full range of motion, but there's not gravity also pulling me down because I don't have the strength to get up once I'm down.
Yeah. Good call. I'm glad you interjected with that, because that's perfect. Yeah. And then planks. Obviously you're a big believer in planks, and those are something pretty easy, because if you can't really do them much, you do them for 5 seconds, and then you set a goal of doing them for 10 seconds, and then when you get to 10 seconds, try to do 2 sets of 10 seconds, with minimal rest in between. So yeah, those are good.
And then also do a side plank. It's really another good one. You can use your upper hand. If you're on your elbow, you could use your upper hand to help brace your body, but side planking is good too, because a lot of times we focus here. We kind of focus here and here, but we're not focusing on the side. We also have to remember, the obliques and the side of our body are part of the core system. So that's good to, focus on.
How do you start out doing a side plank when you're not good at? Do you you're on your forearm and elbow versus straight up like that?
That's going to be a little bit tougher, just because of just all of the resistance on your elbows. So I usually have people start on their elbow, and you can use your upper hand on the ground to kind of help prop your body up if your body weight feels really heavy. So it's just another really good way of kind of strengthening that part of your body. Yeah.
Great.
I've also seen people do it where they're on their knee, like your knee is on the ground to start out.
Yeah, you could. That's another really good way too. You're kind of you're on your hand with your knee bent, and your other leg would be straight, and that's just So that would be for like a really true beginner who's maybe doesn't have the capacity. Yeah.
I want to make sure I put up Susan's. Well, we're about at 2 hours up, but I had a couple. I'm sorry, I keep saying we have a little bit in the chat box. Are you up for maybe answering a couple questions or something here, all of you? One of the questions is, I don't eat beef except a little grass-fed jerky. What are your thoughts on wild game? I do like elk, venison, and kangaroo. They are all fairly lean, and the kangaroo is extremely lean. Susan, would you go first on answering that?
Those I've definitely heard are all super lean meats. It sounds like they're pretty low in their fat content. So I think for somebody who is going to be eating any kind of meat. I think that's kind of what you want to look for, is any kind of like grass-fed or bison. And I definitely have heard those are that kind of the healthier ways to go.
Okay. Natty, your thoughts on like wild game type stuff, elk and things like that?
Yeah, kind of similar to what Susan's saying, but like sometimes that'll even be better depending on where it's coming from. That could be better than the chicken that's mass produced and given all kinds of hormones and stuff.
Yeah. Kim, do you ever experiment with any things like that? I typically don't.
No, I haven't. And I think my heart would love to be a vegan because I love all things animal. So going outside what, most people eat, your chicken and your beef and pork, I've never explored anymore because thinking of eating a cute little kangaroo face, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. But that's for me. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah, this is coming from two people that, not that we live together, but we live on the same property, our homes. As I caught a mouse running around and I caught him live, happened to catch him live because he escaped my trap. But I went to let him go and I was going to kill him. So he didn't come. I'm like, we both looked at his face as I opened up the box to let him loose. I didn't want him coming back. He looked at us as if to say, thank you. And he had this cute face. So I can't even kill a mouse, for God's sake. So yeah, I wouldn't be able to see my meat get killed. That's for sure. Another statement here. It's important to me that this is in the chat box. It's important to me that animals are free roaming and not caged. So that's part of why I like wild game, and they are not eating feed a lot, GMO feed, but rather plants in nature. Do you folks kind of agree with that pretty much? As far as what the meat that you're eating, you kind of talked about it, touched on it, but the meat that you're eating coming from a source where they're eating good foods. That's what I like about the happy eggs. The chickens are free roaming. They're eating bugs. They're eating, little rocks, things they should be eating. And their yolks, I don't know if you folks have ever tried happy eggs. They're actually based out of California. The yolks are literally orange. It's just amazing. There's no other egg that compares to it. But it's that same type of theory as it's what the chickens are eating to lay those eggs. Yeah. So.
Well, I would agree with that because whatever they're putting in their mouth is obviously going into your body. So if you can start with a natural source, or as natural as you can get with whatever animal, then yeah, I would definitely say that's the way to go if you're a meat eater.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Natty, you feel kind of the same pretty much?
Yeah, like knowing what's going into that animal. Like obviously the meat, the makeup and like the vitamins and minerals and protein content and everything is going to be different for a game meat than from fish or turkey or something, but when you look at not just the numbers but the quality and where it's coming from, that means a lot.
Yeah. Kim, do you have thoughts on that at all?
Definitely. I always try, I'm a huge happy egg lover like my brother, and I used to rep happy eggs, and that's one reason why I'm such an avid eater of them, because of if you go to their website and you do some research, free range can be a lot of different things, and that's what I want people to understand. Free range to me isn't just letting your chicken out of the coop for an hour a day. There's so much stuff that can go into that. And so to me, super important. Free range, as organic as can possibly be, grass-fed, all super important.
Yeah. We're almost through this, gals. Hang with me. We got one more kind of question. I like to take my anti-inflammatory supplements first thing with water. with lemon juice and a dash of cayenne. It tastes good. In other words, kind of drinking for taste. Susan, earlier you mentioned getting up and drinking your 16 ounces of water right away. Do you add any lemon juice to that? Or I know my sister's actually adds lemon to hers. Do you do any lemon, apple cider vinegar?
No, every now and then I might add some lemon, but I'm a kind of a room temperature water kind of gal.
Okay.
I drink my water, I eat my breakfast, I take my B, and then a little while later, it's funny, I usually eat like a little cup of like a lentil soup, and then I'll have my, then I'll take my fish oils just to have a little bit more food in my system.
Yeah.
So for me, I just feel better if I have food in my system whenever I take any of my vitamins.
Natty, what about you? Do you, when you're first drinking your water in the morning, are you adding the lemon? Because they say the lemon and like apple cider vinegar, those kind of things actually help reduce like some of the acidity in your body, which is why I think why it kind of caught on. Natty, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of that. I personally just go with the water in the morning. Like I consume lots of apple cider vinegar in salads and different things, but I usually don't drink it first thing in the morning. But not that it's probably good if you do. With any vitamins and minerals, depending on what it is, I think the most important thing is just to pay attention to the timing, like if it's fat soluble or water soluble, like what you should be eating it with. Some should be with food, like you have to watch grapefruit or celery or something with some of them. So that, I think that's the most, as long as that's all working out for you.
Kim, I know you do lemon in your water in the morning, correct?
Yes, that's the first thing I drink. But to Natty's point, I eat immediately, and Susan's, I eat immediately after that. I drink that.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing that we all can agree on here is your body, you can do a lot of damage to your body over the years. And after the age of 40 is when it starts, everything you've done before the age of 40 kind of really starts catching up, and you start seeing it could be anything. It could be where you start getting cavities and bad teeth from not taking care of your teeth. It could be your eyesight, not taking care of your eyesight, taking the right vitamins, stuff. Your eyesight starts to deplenish. So many things start going wrong after the age of 40. Natty, welcome 5 more years here. But especially poor eating. I mean, everything that's when you'll start having really bad cholesterol issues after 40 and things like that from you. But saying that, the body is such an amazing thing that it has such a great way of being able to heal itself when given the proper tools to heal itself. And food is medicine, and movement is medicine. And so with those things, just moving more, walking more, doing little things like that, and changing a diet to so you're putting good things in your body, it will help your body heal a lot of damage that you've done. And avoid a lot of health issues as you get older. So that being said, the medicine really, when it comes down to it, so that you don't have to get on a lot of pharmaceutical medicines, medicine really is at the end of your fork. You can do some amazing things with the food you eat. Susan, you described it. Natty, we all described some different things and different things we've been through. Mine, and I don't know how open everybody wants to be, but I know Natty mentioned earlier, she was in a bad car wreck and had to her body had to be in a healing mode for so long. She talked about it on episode 1 a little bit too. And nutrients and workouts and stuff is what helped get her back to being a world and a national world record holder powerlifter, with me, with the heart disease and atherosclerosis thing. I had to make the changes to let my body heal. And Susan, I know you've had some health issues in the past you've had to deal with, and those are the changes you've had to make in your diet stuff to help heal up from that too. And my sister's had some problems years ago and had to have surgery and stuff. So the takeaway here, I think, is to be able to know that you're not a victim to whatever disease you've been thrown at. With me, like, oh, I'm a heart attack survivor. Yeah, but I'm not someone that has to live with declining heart disease the rest of my life. I'm going to do the best I can to improve that. And diet and exercise are the best ways to be able to do that. Susan, you proved that by the doctor wanting you put on a statin, but you turned around and made the steps and went back and showed your doctor you didn't need to be on a statin because you needed the improvement. So another thing I wanted to say real quick is when you go to the doctor, the biggest complaint I hear is the doctor won't do like a vitamin D test because those are things you have to ask for. Don't be afraid to ask your doctor for extra stuff on your blood work. I've even had to say, look, if the insurance doesn't cover it, because that's what they worry about the most. I'll pay for it myself. Send me the bill. Because if you look at things like a vitamin D check and your B12 check, for instance, you're typically not going to be in your complete blood count that you get is your vitamin D level. So you have to ask for that. $12 or $15 it might cost you, if you got billed for it. So don't be afraid to ask for extra tests on your blood work to find out about your health so you can take control of your health. On some closing thoughts here, Natty, do you have an announcement to make? It might be concerning your abdominals pretty soon.
Yeah, they look a little different now. I'm actually pregnant. So.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, so it'll be, I think, a couple of days, I'll be 22 weeks.
Oh my gosh. Yay.
Yeah.
Is it your first?
It is. So already learning a lot.
So you'll have to keep us posted on how things are coming along and the different changes in diet and nutrients and stuff, because the baby's going to be consuming a lot of nutrients, of course, and the mother's diet determines so much of the health of the baby. I talked to some specialists at OHSU once. They did a seminar and I went to it, and they talked about that and how it traces back health issues on people. It traces back to what the mothers ate and whether they smoked and things like that during their pregnancy, which I know you don't, of course, but it affected their health long-term, the babies. So it'll be interesting to see what all changes you come up with. So let's go around here again. Susan, any closing thoughts on anything we've talked about?
Closing thoughts. Oh my gosh. Do I have any closing thoughts? Yeah, I guess just do what's best for your body, and like at the gym, just think about, what's best for you. Don't look at the person next to you and think, well, gosh, I need to be that, or how do I get to what they have? Those are the times you kind of have to look within yourself and figure out, what do I want to do? Like, your body is basically a big clump of clay. You can make whatever you want out of it. You can do whatever you want with your body. So make it fun, keep it interesting. Just do things you enjoy. And I think that's where the longevity and the consistency is going to come in with your diet, with your exercise, with whatever. As long as you internally love what you're doing, I think it's something that's going to stick with you for a long time.
Very well said, especially for someone that didn't know I was going to make them do a closing thought. Now it's perfect because my ex-wife wrote a book called Personal Best, and don't, like Susan said, don't look at the person next to you and judge yourself on that. Be your own personal best, whether it be correcting a blood work thing that might have come back not so great, or just by things we talked about earlier, walking a little further, things like that. Be your personal best, and that you'll find happiness in
just have your own vision quest. That's always been my tagline. What's my vision quest for what I'm going to be doing?
Yeah, I like that. Natty, what about you? Something for closing?
Yeah, so I guess what I would, that was very well said, but what I would add is I think a lot of people get bogged down by like the enormity of all these things that I need to change, and then they start something that's just like way different than what you're doing right now, and it's not sustainable. I think it's important to celebrate and it's valid to have little goals like steps, and as long as you're hitting your goal of maybe stop drinking soda, or or it's not like, wow, that's the best diet ever, but it's a step in the right direction. So you're getting used to it little by little. And when you look back, you can see like how far you've come with little sustainable changes.
Yeah, that's very well said too. And that's perfect because you're right. It's about the little things, that add up to the big things. Kim, what closing thoughts on your end?
No, I love what Susan and Natty both said, because, out of the four of us, I am the one, per se, for a better lack of terms, the beginner, or continuing on a journey that I once had that slipped to the wayside, that I am now trying to move forward with. It is the small things. And, just going from walking to now running a mile a day, in between all that walking, which took weeks, just finding that, and believing in yourself that you can do it, and making those small changes. And like Natty said, celebrating them.
Yeah. Susan, is it ever too late to start
Oh
an exercise?
Gosh, no, never. I trained a woman who I think she was 75 when I first started training her. And I trained her up until she was like 80 something. And she was doing full push-ups, and she was,
Wow.
It's never not the right time to start. Never set those, never say never, but don't set those obstacles for yourself. It's just, what's a tiny thing that I can do today, and that tiny thing is going to snowball into other things. The more confident we feel, the stronger we feel, or, sometimes it's that tiny little step that you take in the right direction that builds your confidence, and you're just off to the races.
Yeah. Natty, you think it's ever too late to start making a change? Yeah. And Kim, she's in her 50s also, like we talked about earlier, and she's restarting, however you want to put it now. And there's not, and I'm 58, and that picture I showed earlier was whatever I was, 60, so 52 in that picture with my abs. I have no doubt in my mind that in summer I'm going to look like that. So it's not, I'm almost 60, I can't do that anymore. No, man, set your goals.
Because you have the vision.
Yeah, there you go. The Vision Quest, man. We need to get some shirts. Vision Quest family. But Kim, did you had something about you wanted to say about the offering what we're going to send?
Yeah. So I'm not only huge into, the food aspect of what we put in our mouth, but the aspect of, deodorant, toothpaste, lotions. What are you putting on your body? Because, you think toothpaste, obviously we don't necessarily eat it, but, right. it all plays into our health. Everything from, the food to everything, the everyday things that we use. I'm happy, Susan and Natty. I'm going to put together some little gift boxes and send them to you of some of my favorite natural products that I use. And that
I just actually switched out all my makeup. I threw all my makeup away and went to a totally organic, vegan makeups.
Yeah. So you can take it outside of what you eat.
Yeah.
And there may or may not be some food products in there for you gals to try too.
I have them. My brother will come down in my office and help me.
Yeah. So we it's showing the appreciation that both of you took to come and be part of this show. And you don't know how much I appreciate you doing that. Susan, real quick, what Kim just talked about, sunscreen. You're out in California, you're out in the sun a lot. Do you use a sunscreen? If so, are you concerned some of the chemicals that might be in your sunscreen? Or
it's interesting because I had a doctor tell me not to use sunscreen
I've heard
of that particular issue. So when I go out, I just tend to try to cover up more. If I look like I have color, it's because I literally, after I get out of the shower, I use a sunless tanner,
Oh,
like an
okay.
organic
Okay.
sunless tanner, to get a little
Interesting.
bit of color. So yeah, that's a tricky one, trying to find a sunscreen that doesn't, have a lot of additives and
Right.
weird stuff in it. Toxic.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Susan, doesn't all the sunscreens in California have to be reef friendly?
That's, I'm not sure.
Hmm.
I'm sure California has, different laws and guidelines for certain things, but yeah, sunscreen's a tricky one because it is hot here a lot. I do, my husband's always like, put your hat on. So I'm always putting my hat on to kind of cover my face if we go out, or, so it's kind of taking those steps. But I mean, I'm sure he's out, he surfs a lot, so he uses some pretty heavy duty sunscreens that, they're good, but I'm sure they've got some chemicals in them.
Natty,
Okay,
put
well,
your
sunscreen for your husband.
Natty, put your sunscreen on. You're getting sun, Natty.
Wow.
she's getting her vitamin D. She's getting her vitamin D
This in Ohio?
Yeah, crazy. Anyway, well, that's going to wrap it up. And I really, Natty, this is the second time you've been on. You've come back and I'd love to have you gals back again for different subjects that we might be talking about, because your information is, and the dues you've paid in the world of fitness is beyond, Susan, your resume and just in the fitness world in general is, I mean, more than I could expect of any guest. It's just amazing to get perspective on everything. Same with you, Natty and Kim and everybody. So we're going to put together, I have your addresses, and if I don't, I'll reconfirm it. So my sister and I will get some little gift boxes sent out to you. And so thank you again so much for being part of this. And please, if you want to be part of more, just let me know. Matter of fact, throw ideas at me, please. Susan, if you have an idea, something you'd like to talk about, send me an email and say, hey, this would be fun to talk about. Can I come on? I am absolutely honored to have you on anytime you ever want to be. So please know that.
Okay? I think a good subject, obviously, to talk about is just women and lifting and getting into the gym. I mean, I definitely always feel outnumbered when I'm in the gym. I'm usually sometimes the odd woman out, where I'm just look around. I'm like, okay, why am I the only chick in here? Like, where's all the girls? And I look in the cardio room and I'm like, they're all in the cardio room.
Good,
and it's like,
good
I'm
point
say,
for another.
You guys need to come in here.
Great point.
So I think that would be a really good topic.
It would
be getting the girls in the gym.
Yes, very good. And Natty, we can talk about your pregnancy coming along and how to train with that as you progress. So let's plan. Let's do that. And again, please don't think, I don't want to email Todd and feel like I'm taking over the show. Take over. This is your episode. Whatever episode we do, they'll be yours. I love it. I'm learning too. And it's one reason I started. I love talking about this kind of stuff. And I don't get to talk to enough people about these kind of subjects, which is why I started this darn podcast. So please, anytime, the invitation's there. So I will say goodbye to everybody now. And, I'll send you the link to the show once it's on YouTube, which will be really soon. So thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Bye, Maddie.
Yes.
Bye, Kim.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, Todd.
Bye.